What's good, you guys? Zach out here, and today I'm going to be editing 4 different skate photos using Photoshop and Lightroom. I'm going to show you my editing process. First thing to use is Lightroom. I like to use Lightroom to make my select after a session. I pre-selected these photos I have ready to edit. Pick these photos to edit because they all have something unique and different about each photo. So we'll cover some different editing styles and techniques. All these photos are shot in RAW also. So I like to shoot everything in RAW so it keeps the most editing capabilities. It keeps the most data in the photo essentially. So you have the highest highs and the lowest lows, but there's a nice medium area so you can edit them so that they're not noisy and distorted later when you edit them. So you can edit JPEGs and other types of files. They don't have to be RAW. The problem with that is you start to introduce noise and stuff like that. You can also edit iPhone photos. There's capabilities of shooting in RAW on iPhone. There's a bunch of different apps. If you're just shooting on your phone, you can still edit using these techniques as well. So once you're done making your selects in Lightroom, click over on the development tab. You'll see that up on the top right. You see your histogram and all these other modules on your right, and then you see all your presets on your left. These presets are a pretty awesome place to start with. Typically, I like to start with a preset so that you don't have to recreate the wheel, but sometimes it is fun to recreate the wheel if that's the aesthetic you're going for. Or you just want to find something entirely new and you're not really sure what it should look like. Start from scratch, that's fine, but I typically like to start from a preset. It just makes the aesthetic structure a lot easier to follow so I know what I'm going to. So you have all these color presets over here on the left that you kind of go through and see how those look. Anyways, you can go through all these, some nice options for you. And then down here you have some other effects that are presets. So you have your curve, which is essentially some contrast. It'll mess with your shadows and your highlights and everything like that. Your grain, so you can add a little vintage look to it if you want to. Sharpening, to do a little bit of post-editing sharpening. You can do vignetting. So after all these little effects and your standard stuff, you'll have any presets that you've already downloaded and installed. And after we get done with today's video, I'm going to show you on how to save a preset from these photos so that we can use it later. That is something I will show you once we're towards the end of this video, is how to save a preset based off our editing that we do today. I'm going to be honest, I'm probably going to use this same preset for all the photos as a base point. So this is sort of be like the base layer for all my photos. This is a filter I've been using for my Instagram. It's called ZD2020. That's just what I named it. Essentially, I'm going to start messing with the exposure right away. And first thing I like to do is look at the histogram. And if you hover over each area, it shows you. So these are your shadows. This is your exposure, and these are our highlights. And we can see in this photo particularly, there's a lot of highlights. So I think the challenge with this first photo is going to be that Chad's really in the sun. He's like baked with sun on him. And Coogan's a little more in the shade, but then the ramp, the bank that he's doing a frontside flip on is extra in the shade. I'm going to try to marry that a little bit. I may take the pull out because that's a little distraction, but let's mess with it. One of the things I'm having a struggle with here in this photo is that Chad, my friend here who's filming, his arm and his face are extremely overexposed and kind of bright. So I kind of overexposed the photo probably a little bit. Could have shot it all a lot lower. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the masking tool. I'm going to mask his face and his arm where it is all blown out. And you can make it bigger and smaller, your brush, by using your mouse tool right here, my mouse particularly. And that just helps me basically outline him and kind of dial down the exposure just in the areas where it's really blown out. So like on his face and his arm. You don't want to go overboard with it, but it is nice to kind of dial it down just so that in the photo you're not losing focus by looking at him, you're keeping the focus by looking at Coogan. But yeah, at the end of the day, this is the edit that I came up with, and this is how it looked before. Moving right along to this next photo, we got my buddy Andy at this spot that we found one weekend. It's such an epic spot. I think it was already done. It lasted like 2 days type of spot. The hard part is I had to shoot almost straight into the sun because where I was fisheye and where the spot was, the angle. And then also we have this tree over here on the left. So I'm gonna try to up the exposure a little bit on Andy's face like we did in the last photo. Possibly get rid of this tree as well. It's a little bit of a distraction. So I went ahead and brightened Andy's face and kind of got into a better place. I used the filter like I did before as a base layer. I adjusted some of the curves down here. And basically now I'm at a point where I want to try to chop this tree out. So how I'm going about that is you right click on this photo, you go edit in Photoshop 2020, and then it'll jump us and throw us right into Photoshop where we can actually edit this and jump right back into Lightroom without using any data in the raw photo. So I'm going to zoom in over here. I'm going to use the pen tool by clicking P, and I'm just going to basically copy around here, clicking the pen tool and masking this out. Now that I have a nice area that I want to clip out, essentially, I'm going to right click, use my mouse, hit make selection. I'm going to press OK, then zoom out just so I can see the whole image. And then I'm going to go to edit content aware fill. Now this is such an amazing tool. I've used it a lot recently. It's kind of a new Photoshop tool. There's a lot of other ways you can do this before, but this is really nice. And look at that, immediately it pretty much picked up all the data that was around it, took the tree out, and now the tree's gone. I'm going to press OK. Amazing. It looks so much better. There's so much less distraction. And if we want to, we can even take this little tree out over here. A little bit of a distraction as well. And you don't want to go overboard with this because you can start to lose the image. But the idea is here, you can just take away subtle little things to make the photo more focused on the subject. And say if this was grabbing something, that you didn't want it to grab, you can basically use your mouse and cut out the area that you don't want it to detect content from. Do Control S to save. I'm gonna leave Photoshop, jump back into Lightroom, boom, tree's gone. It's amazing. Looks so much better. By the way, skater in this photo is Andy Mack. He's amazing. He's actually kind of going viral on TikTok right now. I love him. Check him out if you're on TikTok. Andy at the bar. Moving along to photo number 3, my buddy Al Burnell. If you've been following this channel for a little while, you'll know Al. He's on this channel all the time. We do a lot of trick tips together. This is him doing a lean air at this pool. I love shooting pools. It's always just such a fun place to shoot at because there's just fun ways to compose the photo. So challenge with this photo, I would say that Al's face is just completely in the dark. We had to shoot this photo in the middle of the day. I don't have tons of flashes, so we're just gonna make it work in the editing room here. Look at Al's face right here. He's like screaming. He's like, so funny. He makes the funniest photos when he's skating. Or he makes the funniest expressions when he's skating. And yeah, I guess they do make the funniest photos as well. So yeah, just kind of highlight arms and his face, his different body, just to bring him out. And I'm gonna do it in different portions so I can adjust the exposure on each thing. So instead of masking his whole body and then changing everything, I'm gonna mask each individual thing, each arm, each, not finger, but basically each area so that you can adjust the exposure specific to that area. Overall, I think that already looks so much better. I mean, just that, throwing the filter on there, adjusting some curves and contrast, and then masking Al and adding a little exposure to him. I think that's good, but I will say we can also jump into Photoshop, kind of do that same thing we did with the last photo and just clean up some of this background a little bit. That's pretty much my edit with Al in the pool. I could straighten it out a little bit, but I think it's kind of cool how the pool is at a curve and he's at a curve. There's a lot of curvature happening in this photo, and I just really like it. Moving right along to photo number 4, my buddy Chris LaRue doing a kickflip over this trash can. Super rad photo, but the thing is, he made the one and caught the one perfectly where I framed his finger a little bit too close to the edge of the frame and it looks like it's just getting chopped off. And yeah, I'm just being a perfectionist and I don't want to use that photo because it's just framed wrong. Where this photo, the one before, is framed correctly, but I took the photo a little bit too early before he fully caught it. So I'm trying to figure out how to find the sweet spot here, what I'm gonna do. But what I think I can do is take his hand from this photo and bring it into this photo, possibly. I don't know, it's gonna be kind of hard because it's too close to the frame right here. I may have to just make do and use this photo that isn't the exact catch that I wanted because it's just gonna be tough. So let me try to mess with this real quick. Jumped into Photoshop back and forth. As you saw, I kind of was doing some cloning and stamping, and basically I got this photo to a decent place. Now, some people might not even notice this finger or what I even did, all that work, but to me, it makes me more confident in this image and it makes me just happier about the image. that's the end of the edit. Super hyped. Can't believe it actually worked, because I was a little conflicted there for a second. I was like, what am I getting myself into? But that's editing. You kind of got to just dive in until you eventually see your way through it. So photo number 5 challenge, I think, is just Luis's bike. This is my friend Luis, by the way, and my friend Keith getting towed. Super awesome photo. I did this for a campaign for Vox Footwear when I worked for them. Anyways, I think the challenge with this photo is that the light on Luis's bike is really distracting as well. It's just kind of the main thing you look at. Luckily, it's in the center of the frame, so it's all right that it's taking a lot of distraction, but I want to tone that down. And then also we have that huge tree in the back. I'm going to see if I can take that out, but that may be a long stretch. We'll see what happens. For edit number 5, that's what I came up with. It took me quite a while to get this whole tree out back here. I ended up clipping in some clouds just to make it look a little more realistic. Honestly, I could probably do a lot more work and make this look a lot better, maybe more realistic, maybe even adding a mountain or some real depth right there. I think just the cutoff to sky does look a little bit Photoshop-esque and kind of on the edge there of being too much Photoshopped, but at the same time, that's just my personal preference of style and stuff like that. I could probably blur this horizon to make it a little more, less jagged looking. But at the end of the day, these aren't the right or wrong ways to edit. This is just my editing workflow for skate photos. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's been fun editing these photos. I'll probably throw them up on my Instagram. If you want to check out my Instagram handle, it's @Dowdy, DOWDY. Make sure to follow me on here. This is just more of a quick process of how I edit photos, not so much how you should edit photos. But anyways, hope you guys enjoy it. Like I said, give this video a thumbs up so that I know you did enjoy it. Share with all your friends and family, and stay safe and healthy out there. See you guys in the next one. Stay on MASH. I'm self-quarantined right now. We'll talk about that later. Peace.